The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
And now, a man who campaigned against Barack Obama in all 57 states, Mark Galar.
Welcome to the Tea Party Power Hour. This is your host, Mark Galar. We've got a very special guest with us today, Pastor Manning, who is on record, and by that I mean on video, is predicting that Barack Obama's people were cooking up a birth certificate the day before they released it. Pastor Manning from the Outlaw World Ministries. Pastor Manning, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be on today.
Now, I have seen the YouTube video, which was actually done a day or so before Barack Obama released his long-form birth certificate, or at least what he said was his long-form birth certificate, and you predicted then that there was going to be some cooking of the birth certificate. It came out. What's your response to it?
Well, I mean, it was pretty obvious that he was going to have to produce something after a 2-year just not doing anything at all. And shortly after we made that statement, bingo, he produced this fake birth certificate. But I got to tell you that, I mean, I was amazed that it was such shoddy work. Unfortunately, I used to be out in the streets where people did crimes, and they had a thing called hanging paper, writing bad checks, and making phony IDs. He should have asked me for some of my people, because we could have got a better joint put together than the thing he put together.
Well, it wouldn't take much. I'm on record as saying it looks like a kindergartner cut and pasted it together with school paste. It's really a bad job. There's so many things wrong with it. You don't have to be a computer expert to see it. I mean, you can just put it on your computer and enlarge it a little bit, and you can see all the problems with it. I mean, it's obvious where they dropped things in here and there, where they covered things up, added stuff that wasn't there before. I mean, it really is an embarrassing forgery. The only thing I can figure, Pastor Manning, is that, you can't call down to the White House print shop and say, one fake birth certificate, please. You can't call up Kinko's and say, one fake birth certificate. So he obviously had to get somebody close to him who could be trusted, who may not have had any experience forging a document. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Quite frankly, I had not thought about it in that way, but you're right, he could not. You're right, your statement's all accurate and in order. My question, however, I'd like to ask you is why is it, I mean, it's very obvious that this was done in the most amateurish, if you will, way possible. Why isn't it the American press has not followed up with just one follow-up question about the authenticity of the birth certificate? Why has the press allowed this to go unchallenged? What's wrong with America that everybody knows that is a forgery and a fraud coming from our highest and most esteemed office, but yet not one follow-up question was asked on the day it was presented? Why? Why are we doing this?
Well, I can tell you this, Pastor Manning. I've been involved with Sheriff Arpaio's people for about a year now, and little bits and pieces of things come to me. When I say involved, I want to clarify that. I was actually brought in to produce and narrate those evidence videos that he showed at his March 1st and July 17th press conferences last year. So I know the level of the evidence. And what I can tell you is that it's worse than just they won't cover it. In some cases, they've told outright lies to cover it up. And what's really sad about all this, Pastor Manning, is that it's not just MSNBC or CNN or some of the usual suspects that we would probably not even fault for protecting Barack Obama, because it's what they do. But even Fox News has gotten involved. Now, let me give you a couple of examples. Bill O'Reilly said that the reason Barack Obama had a Connecticut-based Social Security number was because Barack Obama Sr. was living in Connecticut for a while. That is an absolute lie. Now, I'll tell you a story that I personally broke. There's a reporter on Fox News Online. Her name is Jana Winter, and she did this report, and the headline was, computer expert says birth certificate is legit. Well, the gentleman's name was Jean-Claude Tremblay. They had to go all the way to Canada, supposedly, to find someone who would say it was legit. And I was on Twitter one night, and I saw some tweet go by in French, and it was Jean-Claude Tremblay. So I tweeted him then, and I said, you aren't by chance the man who said the birth certificate was legit. And he said, well, I'm the man who was quoted as such, but I never said, he said, I never said that. I never said that. He said, I've been trying to get Jana Winter at Fox News to retract that, and she will not return my tweets. She will not return my communication. So I tried tweeting Jana Winter a few times. In fact, I tried 24 hours ago, and she would not return my tweets. So then I got on the phone and I called. I got through to her voicemail, and I said, the gentleman that you're quoting says he never said that. Would you please contact him and do a retraction, or contact me and we can talk about this? She didn't get back with me. Now, here's the real interesting thing, and I'm not going to burn this person by saying their name, but there was someone within Fox News, Pastor Manning, who actually went to Sheriff Arpaio and Mike Zullo and said, I am very sorry. I have tried to get Fox News to tell the truth on this. I have looked at your evidence that you presented at your press conferences. I know you have the goods on Barack Obama. I know that he has multiple cases of document fraud that can be proven in a court of law. I wanted Fox to run a story on that, and they said absolutely no way. So I'm here to apologize to you because my network will not tell the truth. So
you're telling me, and I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, I was ready to go to you.
It's quite fascinating and listen to what you have to say. But you're saying to me, which is what I know, but I just want to repeat this so that others might know as well, that Fox News knows that Obama is a fraud, that the birth certificate is a fraud. There's been a massive cover-up, but worse than that, they've also stepped in the mud by now lying to protect him, which is something that, as you stated earlier, MSNBC, we expect, or CNN, to do. But they're now doing that. Why is it then, would they run a candidate like Romney against him, or any of that were lined up in the initial primary, and no one ever mentioned the birth certificate in any meaningful way, and did not make that a campaign issue? There's some very troubling things happening in our nation at present. Not to mention the fact that his forged Social Security number, forged birth certificate, but he's also a disbarred lawyer as well, as you know. I'm sure you do.
Well, I didn't know he was disbarred. I knew he gave up his license to practice law, as did Michelle Obama.
Yeah, that's disbarred.
You're saying they tell you you can give it up or we'll disbar you.
Yeah, that's what you get the idea.
That's like whenever people say I resigned from my job.
Why do people still watch Fox News? I've warned, when Bill O'Reilly stated, going back a couple of years now, that he had seen the birth certificate, that was even before Obama presented this rag back in April of 2011. And everybody knew that Bill O'Reilly was now covering for Obama, yet Fox News trying to give this image that they're fair and balanced and that they have conservative values, while at the same time they're now covering for him. Because when he said that, he was like the major mouthpiece that backed everybody away, or at least some people away from the birth certificate idea, pursuit rather. I'm just trying to move at the fact that we got some very troubling things happening. There's no need to trust Fox News on anything that they say anymore. The first of, I'm hearing this for the first time about this French expert, a PDF file expert, and the online reporter from Fox News as well. I'm going to follow up on that and do some reporting myself on it now that I've heard it from you.
Well, I tell you what, I will gladly pass that information on to you, complete with the Twitter clips of me going back and forth with Jean-Claude Tremblay. And I got to tell you, the only insight I have, Pastor Manning, into this whole Fox thing and into the question that you started this program with about why nobody is doing anything is that there is a gentleman who was the terrorism expert at Fox News for 6 years. His name was retired Major General Paul Valley. And General Valley was brought in right after 9/11, and he was brought in because of his expertise on terrorism. But he's got a lot of connections at Fox News because of his 6 years there, and he also has a lot of connections up on the Hill. Now, here are the two things he told me when he was on the show. He said that all the congressmen know that Barack Obama's documentation is fake, and I think that's a reference to the birth certificate and the Social Security card, and I might add the Selective Service card is even more fake than the birth certificate, if you've had a chance to look at that. Now, he said that Fox News at one point was told by Barack Obama's people, if you do not drop this birth certificate thing, if you do not stop calling Barack Obama Barry Soetoro, we will come at you with everything we have. The IRS, the Federal Trade Commission, we might just decide you've got a monopoly in cable news. We will come at you with the FCC. We will come at you with everything we have. We'll use the FCC to yank your broadcast license, and we'll worry about the consequences later. So that's what Major Vallely said about Fox. Now, about Congress, he said that individual congressmen have said that they were told if you try going after Barack Obama for these multiple counts of document fraud, we are going to see race riots from New York to California. If you think what happened with Rodney King was big, wait till you see what black folks do when Barack Obama is being charged with something. So let me ask you, as a leader in the African American community, Pastor Manning, I found that to be an insult to African Americans everywhere, to assume that they would riot because of this. So you tell me, is there any chance African Americans would riot over something like this?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Obviously, race is still the number one weapon in the Obama propaganda arsenal, but closely behind that is birther. So let me ask you, as a fellow birther, what do you plan to do next? I'm getting emails saying you're heading to Hawaii, possibly with attorneys. What's going on there?
Well, yeah, I plan to travel to Hawaii at some point this year, and I plan to file motions in the courts in Hawaii charging the Kalapalani Hospital with misinforming the American people, and I plan to charge the State Department in Hawaii, the state of Hawaii, with covering up and being complicit in an obvious fraud, a criminal activity, both for the hospital and also for they know they have information that they and that they're hiding information that or they're condoning information that has been publicly a part of a fraud. I plan to do that, and a couple of other things. I plan to name Fox News and the case Bill O'Reilly as well. And I'm working on the appropriate way with Hawaiian officials with Hawaii law rather, not officials, how to make that charge a court action and try to get somebody from the State Department to appear in court there in Hawaii. I plan to do that sometime this year. I haven't settled on a date as of yet, but
okay.
Yes, I do plan to do that.
Well, now, when it comes to things like criminal charges, you've got to find a prosecutor to go along with you. Given the fact that Hawaii is so liberal and so in the tank for Barack Obama, how do you imagine that happening?
Well, my strategy is to file a civil complaint, and then find a way to make the people that we're going to level the complaint against criminally liable, in as much as that the civil complaint rather would introduce the criminal complaint. Normally, it's the criminal complaint. If that fails, then you can sue people in a civil court.
Mm-hmm.
I plan to do the reverse of that. Now, I got to tell you, I'm not sure how far this is going to go. I don't necessarily see it being the most successful, given the state of Hawaii, their liberal-thinking prosecutors, judges, police officers. I may end up in jail myself before the whole thing is over with. But I do plan to make it a part of the Hawaiian record of events, because at some point I'm convinced this entire fraud is going to blow wide open. And that's going to be my linchpin, that when it does blow wide open, the state of Hawaii would have had the opportunity to respond if they deny the opportunity for the court proceedings to go forward, they would have further demonstrated that they knew and had an opportunity to come clean and did not. But I'm convinced that this matter cannot remain uncovered. It's just too in your face. If it was just a birth certificate, then it might quietly go away in 20 years. But it's the Social Security number, it's his school records, it's a host of things.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.